Historically, brother, I did not do well in school. I got kicked out of 3 high schools. I never got accepted to any universities when I was 18. But at the age of 33, I started being invited to universities as a visiting professor. Start seeing greatness in people, start outlining something that's great that's happening to you. Say something positive about the speaker. You don't only have to be positive, but try to consider to say 3 positive things before you criticize a speaker, before you criticize the venue. And you could do it in your head.
Welcome back to another episode of Limitless. Today we have with us Gil Petersil, the only one in the world indeed. Gil is here to talk about relationship capital. He's the founder of MeetPartners. Gil, a warm welcome to you. How are you?
Hello. Super happy to be here, brother. I've missed you. We've known each other for so many years. This is so great that we're doing this for your community.
That's fantastic. And before we dig into then relationship capital, the currency leaders don't see on the balance sheet. Gil, just a little bit of a brief introduction to yourself in case there's some of the listeners who haven't had the pleasure to meet you yet.
Of course, yeah. I'm a serial entrepreneur known in the community for someone who's very open about the dozens of successful failures I've had in business. I believe, and I'm known within some communities around the world as a teacher of quantum networking, but I see myself as the #1 student in the world in the arts and sciences of human connection. I've been studying it for so many years, and because I've lived in 7 countries and I've gone through a lot of different partnerships and alliances and collaborations in my life, I have learned that as humans, we have not even come close to mastering the depth of human connection. And I've taken it upon myself not just to study it and try to slowly master it, but along the way to teach it and give it back to others. So outside of being a speaker and a coach, I really enjoy implementing a lot of these frameworks into my own entrepreneurial movement and working with some of the greatest speakers and teachers in the world that are aligned with these values, like Tony Robbins and Geshe Michael Roach and Eckhart Tolle, people that I've spent years connecting with. I see that the world is now ready for this. So I'm excited that I'm going to be sharing with your audience as well.
That's fantastic. We catch you at the right time indeed, and Gil, at the beginning of the year here. And I fully agree with you and align with you. Relationship can be seen as capital. But I really want to hear in your words, what do you mean with that? And what's your understanding of basically how relationship can also be a capital?
So, there's all these sayings that people saying it's not your network, but it's your net worth. And people are saying it's not about what you know, but it's the people that are around you. Or there are sayings that, you're 5 handshakes away from anywhere around the world. And they're saying if you want to get a job, it's not about applying for jobs, but knowing who you know and like getting to the right person. And these days, it's even more than that because there is so much inauthentic content out there. These days, you could see so much on social media, and you need to question, is this a real person or not? These days, you can go out to so many incredible events, and because people have not been taught how to really build a relationship that's meant on good values, that's meant on ethic, that's based on presence, we don't really know how to network. And that's a challenge. I have 3 kids, and with my 3 kids, I've had to learn how do kids make friends. And then I realized, you know what? I don't remember ever having a class in school on the value of friendship. And what does it mean to build friendship? Like it's very valuable if we think about it for people our age, people in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, like friendship. Harvard just did this massive 30-year-old report that's saying that all of these super wealthy people and super poor people, as they were dying, all said, the most important thing in their life are the relationships that they've built. And you can make all the money in the world and lose it all. It's the people that are around you that will help you get back up. You can get super unhealthy and you can get super sick, and suddenly it's the people that are around you that will help you get back up. So for me, the capital that I see in the networks is the value that we could see in people. That's not necessarily, that's a rich person or that's a person that could do something for me. But it's just understanding that, like, I like to look at, like, I live in Bali, so I look at a lot of life as gardens. And if you have a beautiful garden and a gardener takes care of it every day he waters it, there is results. It's very beautiful. The garden is there and it's happy. And if that plant is not so happy, the gardener is not going to kill it. It's going to take it out of the ground, maybe plant it somewhere else. And that's something I've learned a lot about nature, that sometimes in life, we feel ourselves in a dark place. Oh my God, I feel buried. I'm in the dark. I don't know what to do. I'm lost in life. And what I've learned, that if we start to see relationship capital as a place of hold on, I have incredible people in my life. And there's also a lot of other people in the world that I don't have yet in my life. So instead of seeing ourselves buried in a place, whether it's challenging time like we had, 2025 was the most uncomfortable year humanity has gone through in a long time, or whether we just see ourselves as stuck, like I'm stuck in a job, I'm stuck in a career, I'm stuck in a country, we can suddenly look ourselves as, what about if I find myself planted in a new garden? And what I need to do now when I've been planted is not try to come out of the ground and say, hey, I'm ready to sprout. Here you go. Let me bear some fruits. No, no, no. What do plants do as soon as you plant at the ground? They start to move their roots around, not just to ground themselves, because they are networking with other plants underground. And that's what is the massive capital around networking, is like, we need to look the mycelium, like, how nature does it. Who is in our network? Who is holding on to us? And when we start to look at the value our network brings into our lives and the value that we're bringing them, we start to question, do I need to stay connected with these people right here? Or maybe I should cut those roots for now, just move away. And maybe I see more value in these relationships and I should build deeper relationships with them. And that's where we start to really value truly the relationships we have around us.
Yeah, that's really well captured, and the value is certainly there. And what about when it comes to decision making then? How important are the relationship when it comes to decision making?
It's so important for people who are executives and entrepreneurs. Like, for so many years now, I've been working as a strategy coach with some of the biggest corporations in the world, a lot of amazing entrepreneurs, and it always comes to that, Gil, I got to make big decisions. I got to change my strategy. I got to make a big decision whether to hire these people or fire these people. I got to make a big decision on this partnership, on this collaboration. I believe that all the decisions we make in life and in business doesn't only affect us. It always affects other people. It's the same thing that I'm very confident I like to say to audiences around the world. I don't believe that I've achieved anything alone in my life. Nothing I've achieved alone. Everything I've achieved has been with others, meaning that every time I make a decision, it doesn't only influence my life. Meaning that when we are making decisions in life, sometimes it's really important to kind of just say, okay, how does this decision right now, going from point A to point B, who is this going to affect? It's good to just assess that opportunity, positive, negative. How will it affect my business? How will it affect the employees? How will it affect my partners? But it's even more fun to think about, do I need to make that decision on my own? Can I bring those people around a table or around a Zoom call and make that decision together? Or even better, can I let them make the decision and let them provide me with all of the potential variables for me to understand how to make the decision easier, because anyways, I'm going to be affecting all of them. So when it comes to decision making, I love telling people, one, don't only rely on the people that are in your network. Consider who's not in your network right now, and then do you have the right strategy to get there? It's like saying, I want to learn how to cook Chinese food. What do? You either work with a chef or you work with some recipes. The same thing is networking. I try to help people understand that networking for me are a set of spiritual practices. They're not a way to connect with someone on a business card and quickly get what you want in life. I think it's one of the biggest, challenges and opportunities we have in our lives is to network mindfully, to allocate time to the right people. And if we're willing to learn, and we're willing to learn with someone else, we can also get to anyone we want in our lives. So sometimes it's easier to make a decision because someone who's done it before can come into your life and give you advice. Someone who knows how to get to that decision can come into your life, and instead of you wasting time and money, you can pay someone a little bit of money and they'll save you 98% of your time, and they'll end up saving you a lot of money in the long run, but they'll help you make a quantum networking decision that will completely change the way the strategy is for your life or your business.
Yeah, and if we look at this from a strategy perspective, then Gil, because I know you are a networking mastery coach, and if someone is listening today, they're thinking maybe I should invest my money in an MBA or a PhD and spend 2 years thinking $100,000-$200,000 on this, as opposed to if they should go out and network and build some relationships with some perhaps membership organizations and so on, or working with someone like you to help them strategize this. What would you have to say to them? Where should they invest?
It's such a beautiful question. You know, I'm a huge believer now in my life and education. Historically, brother, I did not do well in school. I got kicked out of 3 high schools. I never got accepted to any universities when I was 18. But at the age of 33, I started being invited to universities as a visiting professor. And I was really shocked. Like, even my parents, my dad was like, how are you, like, you don't have a university degree. How are you doing? And I'm like, Dad, they're not asking me to be a full-time professor. They're asking me to break down methodologies on how to use human connection, strategic partnerships, collaboration alliances, how to create new forms of networking to build relationships. And during those years, I understood that most MBAs are useless for a lot of people. They're very useful for some people. Some people need education. They love it. They love going to school. They love having like classes. They love it. They live by it. Like, some people have another degree. Majority of people, I think, like me, who cannot just sit in class every day. They need to learn differently. I believe for people like that, an MBA is a complete waste of time. MBA gives you 2 things. It gives you new concepts, new ideas, new way of considering business or considering how to move forward towards a strategy, and it gives you a network. Now, it doesn't necessarily give you an aligned network or a relevant network. What it gives you is it gives you high quality time with a group of people. And this is very important. Multiple research centers around the world have done this research about how many hours it takes to build a friendship. And I was shocked. It says that it takes about 85 hours to spend in proximity to the same person in order to build something that feels like a bond. So, of course, if you're going to do an MBA with someone for a couple of years, of course you're going to build a bond with them. However, why do you need those 2 years? You can come to someone like me, or you can go to another networking coach out there, and you could say, hey, this is the kind of business opportunities I'm looking for. Let's put together a strategy on how I can meet the type of people that will give me answers. What kind of events can I go to? What kind of business clubs can I join? What kind of an association can I sign up with? And how do I show up? How do I start conversations? And instead of spending 2 years in an MBA and $150,000, you end up spending a lot less, maybe $10,000, $20,000, but you do everything in 3 months. You know, that's on average how I see people getting massive quantum leaps and results into what they want.
Yeah, and that's the bigger picture then. And perhaps there's some tips you can share on the day-to-day behavior as well. What can the listeners do on a day-to-day basis to basically put those investments in building that relationship capital?
Yeah, of course. I have many different frameworks that I've shared over the years. There are some that are a lot more for corporations, and I have some of them with my website, and some you can find on LinkedIn, on Instagram, that's more for the entrepreneurs out there. A very simple one that I like to tell people is consider these 3 pillars of networking that will help you transition yourself to a much bigger level. First of all, you can always ask me for an audit. If you send me a message anywhere on any of the social media and just type audit, I'll send you a completely free product. I'm not going to sell you anything. I've just understood that people need to know where they really are before they go somewhere else. Because most people think they're like a 7 or an 8 out of 10 in networking. And I tell them, after you do the audit, you'll understand you're maybe a 2 out of 10 in networking. And it's not to criticize them. It's just to show them how much room for improvement there is. It excites me. Like me, on my best day, I'm a 6 out of 10. On my best day, with all the systems working, and I've been on the covers of magazines as a networking guru, and I've taught it in 2,000 events around the world. What I tell people is 3 simple pillars. Number 1 is the complementary mindset. Start having complementary mindset when connecting with people. Start seeing greatness in people. Start outlining something that's great that's happening to you. Say something positive about the speaker. You don't only have to be positive, but try to consider to say 3 positive things before you criticize a speaker, before you criticize the venue. And you could do it in your head. So complimenting people is the easiest way to avoid fear of people. And maybe you know this, Nick, that if you look at the top fears of human being, the top fears we all have are all connected to networking. Fear of public speaking, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. All of those are connected to networking. So the top fears that we have as humans, we can make go away by turning on the complementary mindset. The second one is the curious approach. Asking people really good questions. I've never been taught in school how to ask women questions, which was really difficult in my 20s to go out on dates. And I didn't know how to ask women really good questions. And it's such a hack today. If you ask GPT, top 10 questions to ask people to build trust. Top 10 questions to ask people to get them to want to buy your product. Top 10 questions not to ask women. Ladies and gentlemen, oh my goodness, learn to turn on your curious mindset, because if you're asking people really great questions instead of what do you do and where are you from, but what's currently keeping you focused these days, or what exciting projects are you working on these days, or, what do you wish you can achieve during this event, or who do you wish you can meet in the next 2-3 hours of this event we're at? Such powerful questions that open up conversations. And the third pillar is the pillar of reconnection. In the corporate world, we call it following up. But following up is actually a very beautiful spiritual practice. Reconnecting with a person is not easy. Most of us are not good at reconnecting. We forget about people because we're too busy. And we're too busy because we don't have an awareness of time. Next time we do this, Nick, let's bring up time awareness. And I'll teach people about the different codes on how to create a lot more free time in your life just by knowing some frameworks. But following up is key. What I tell people, if you want to practice following up, open up your WhatsApp, scroll down 6 months, scroll down 1 year, and then ask yourself slowly as you scroll towards the present moment, why have I not followed up with this person? And how can I follow up? And challenge yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Be uncomfortable in following up with people. Whether it's a few nice words, please don't say, hi, Gil, how are you? That's like the worst kind of follow-up. Send them some nice words of what's going on with you. Or my favorite, 30-second voice message. So powerful, so powerful. So ladies and gentlemen, practice the complementary mindset. What does that look like for you? There's a lot of frameworks in there. Practice asking people amazing questions, like new questions. Look for new questions all the time, and follow up with people, because you have the power. Like, you all have the power to follow up with me and say, hi, Gil. Imagine what could come out of that.
Wonderful. I love the 3 tips there. So the complementary, really tap into the greatness of the people, the curious mindset, and then the reconnection, and don't be shy of that. And then what about if the relationship has gone south? Perhaps there's been some tension there. There can be broken relationships. And what I know, then it can be very painful for people to come back then. It might be ego involved. And I learned in my own path and recovery that making amends and setting things right is so important. And what would you say we should do then when it comes to relationships and rebuild?
It's a very sensitive question, because there's a lot of context that's related there. Like, is it a personal relationship? Is it a business relationship? And what I tell people, have a cup of tea with them. And I'll tell you why. I have a movement called Cha Tea. And I basically am on a mission for the last 20 years to connect people deeply. And now the movement that I have, Cha Tea, is to not only connect people authentically, but to connect them with presence over a cup of tea. Because what happens in life, we come in and out of people's lives, like DNA does. And sometimes we're meant to be in that person's life for a day, a month, or a year, or many more. And sometimes we're meant to be away from each other. It could be months, it could be years that we're away from each other. It doesn't mean the bridge has been burnt. It doesn't mean that connection should not come together. So again, start with an audit, and you can audit, hey, let me look at 10 people that I've disconnected with, or I feel like I have, so much space and time came apart, and look at 6 months, 1 year, or even more. And then do a little audit. Question yourself, How do you feel about this person? How did you feel about them the last time you met? Why should you be connecting with this person? Once you've gone through a little bit of this depth, you need to have a reason why to reconnect, because in some cases, Nick, there is no need. In some cases, we reconnect with the past because it's nostalgia, because we think it's what we need. I actually believe that these days it's much healthier and it's much more beautiful to find new connections. There's 8 billion people in the world, and just because this person was my friend for a few years when I was in my 20s or 30s, it doesn't mean that they're meant to be my friend right now. It means that I need to learn how to make new friends. And there's a lot of solutions out there in the world now. It's not easy, ladies and gentlemen. It's really not easy to suddenly make new friends, but we're there. It's the era. It's 2026. It's the era of building deep friendships. But if you really want to go back at an old friendship or an old partner, I would recommend to either outline very beautiful words and send them a message and tell them why you were thinking about them and tell them how you feel and, tell them why you want to reconnect. And my personal favorite is to send them a voice message, maybe about 1 minute long. And, and after the voice message, to say, hey, Jonathan, I was thinking about you. It's been a while since we connected. I sent you a little voice message from my heart. And during that voice message, choose to say, don't say you're sorry for not connecting. Don't look at the past. Just say, I felt like it was time to reconnect once again. I'd love to have a virtual tea with you soon, and see what happens.
That's very beautiful. Thank you, Gil. And I'm sure that many of the listeners will really, really value from this. Just finally, before we let you go, any last minute tip or advice for someone who's listening today who want to start treating relationships like their strategic asset?
I would say that please look deeper there's two frameworks that I created over the last few years. One of them is quantum networking mechanics, and the other one is more precision networking strategies. Quantum networking mechanics is understanding how much beautiful depth there is into the way we connect as human beings. So whichever way you think you're good or bad at networking, don't worry about it. There is no bad. There is, I'm not as good as I could be. So just ask yourself, how much can I grow this month? Like, what can I do until my birthday to develop how I speak and how I brand myself and how I am online or offline? Just explore that world with more curiosity and love, like a kid in the candy, like, wow, this is a new topic, but it's not new. You've always been doing it, ladies and gentlemen. Precision networking strategy is understanding the power of manifestation, that you can be very precise. Like if you reach out to someone like Nick, he's a super connector. You can tell Nick, I have this kind of a budget right now. I'd love to meet these kind of a people. I'm sure that someone like Nick can connect you with those people. I'm sure that showing up on Nick's podcast, you can connect with the right target audience. Precision networking, saying to myself, who are the kind of people I want to build relationship with? And instead of going to them directly, how do you work with super connectors? How do you get interviewed on a podcast and boom, I'm in front of my ideal target audience? How do you show up in a business club and boom, you're in front of your ideal potential partners? So for me, like people come to me all the time and say, Gil, I want to launch my brand in the US. So I want to enter the Indonesian market. And they're like, you're like random marketing. I don't believe in old school marketing anymore. I believe in precision networking. Get to who you want to get to. Stop wasting people's time. Stop wasting your money. Just look deeper into it and see where it takes you. And if you need help, I'm someone who's hacked time completely with all of my mentorship and 3 kids. And I'm doing a lot of philanthropy work. I love being an entrepreneur. I create about 20% of my time every single week that is allocated for surprises to come in from the network. People that come and ask me for help, people that come and ask me to be interviewed or somehow asking me to add value. So don't be shy, ladies and gentlemen. Ask for help.
That's beautiful and a really, really good and powerful ending of today's show. Thank you so much, Gil, for coming on the show, talking about relationship capital. And thanks to all the listeners as well. Again, Gil, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nick.